Give me 1 second to get my shit in order real quick. Oh, okay. Alright, so we're continuing to work on this guy right here. Last we left off, I was like, I don't know what I want to do with any of this skin and fur, but I've actually got a pretty good idea of what I'm going to do with it now. I like this red-gray as like a base rat fur color. I think it'll kind of bring together the dark pink skin tone and the orange from this. Hello, I'm not dead. I'm not dead at all. Just had to move out of tracking range for a second. Not not the best thing in the world, but honestly, my setup for hand cams is janky as shit, so it's kind of a miracle that I'm doing these at all. Anyways, what was I saying? Right, this red-gray from Pro Acryl is the base color that I used on this guy. I think this with like Skaven Blight Dinge for the actual fur, and then hit the whole thing with like a shade, and I think we'll have ourselves some basic gross looking rat fur. Yeah, so we're gonna start off with the red gray for now. For this whole section where the master molders like fused to the body, gonna use some Rackhearth flesh, but we'll worry about that after we're done with the red gray. Red gray is where we start. Oh, I need to move like all of these paints slightly this way. There we go. Bring my palette slightly into view. A smarter me would have brought a paper towel. Oh well. Do I have one anywhere? Mm. I still have one. It's okay. Alright. Yeah. Let's start getting some of this red-gray onto this big hulking rat. It's kind of a slightly fleshy gray, I guess. Like a warm mauve gray of sorts. I don't know. Um, it's a good color, though. I got it because I thought it would be a good rat color, and I was right. It is indeed a good rat color. Almost a little bit purpley in its tone. And we're starting with this one instead of the Skaven Blight Dinge, simply because I think this will give a better base for the Skaven Blight when we go in and actually do patches that are definitely still furry. Skaven Blight Dinge is a great paint, but it's kind of thin, being a Citadel highlight and all that. Adjust my vision there a little bit. Man, this light needs to get like tilted slightly that way. Oh, that's better. That's so much better. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I can't see as well, but the camera can see so much better because there's so much white on this model still that any direct light becomes like a fucking, I don't know, um, a warning light and caution warning vest. So bright. But I think once we get this red gray on, we're going to be seeing a lot less white on this model. I'm going to need to figure out some of these cables. Some of them are just going to be green because that's like the color of like warpstone and the stuff that Skaven used to power their magics and machines. But not all of the cables need to be green. Let me know if I need to change my angle on this guy at all. I will do what I can. Let's bring it slightly that way. Yeah, that's better. Ah, so how's everybody enjoying this Saturday night? Busy working? That's all right. Sometimes stuff needs to get done on Saturday. The world doesn't just shut down. And I hope I'm able to make your work just a little bit less boring. So there are like, I don't know, pins or something holding parts of this flesh in place. I don't know what I'm gonna do with those. Um, 'Cause like, they could still be metallic, I guess. But I feel like something that's been stuck inside of flesh for that long would probably lose its metallic shine. I don't know. I'll decide after I'm done with this color later and actually have to put another color on. So this gray is super weird because it like goes on more like I don't know, um more warm, more red to it, and then it kind of ends up this gray, this darker gray that you're seeing kind of back here. I don't know if my webcam is necessarily good enough to really pick up the difference between this and this. I think it is. Um, God, this camera's autofocus is awful. Well, yeah, you're definitely right about tossing metallics on and then grinding it up. That's kind of just the goal with metallics in general, especially on a Skaven, a gross Skaven like this. Everything's gonna get grimed up in a minute or two. Okay, yeah, you can definitely see the difference between like where I have put fresh paint on over here. Oh my god, come on. This camera is gonna be the death of me. Oh well. I'm just rambling about paint drying, so it doesn't really matter at the moment. I just remember the first time I used this paint, I was like, I don't know if I like it. And then I just like set the model aside and went to do something else and came back to it and was like, wait a minute, was that the red gray that I just used? Really? So it just does not look the same. Okay. I really need to figure out like a different position for this light because I keep losing what I'm trying to paint in the shadow of my own hand and paintbrush. So my tracking software that I use just had like an update, and I think it's a little bit janky. I feel like my mouth tracking is less good than it was a week ago. I'm gonna have to mess with it, but I didn't really have time before going live today. Or rather, I didn't really notice until I was live. But, you know, that's okay. It's probably something pretty easily fixable. And if not, I've got other programs I can work with in the meantime. I'll figure something out. I'm resourceful. I'm running out of paint on my palette. That's a pretty good indicator of how long I've been sitting here, I suppose. Yeah, about 15 minutes. That sounds right. Alright, I need to get more of this red gray on my palette. Alright. Let's see. This leg, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I was right. I thought that this gray would work well with the orange, and I was right. It does go well with the orange. You can kind of see it there. It'll be a bit more apparent once it's dry, probably. Ooh. It's always very stressful to me to make like color palette decisions for big models. Like, I don't know, painting the smaller clan rats and even the slightly larger rat ogres, it's like, well, I can kind of give them some variety so I don't actually have to like pick. Um, and I guess it's one thing if like going into the paint job, I've got like a clear vision for the model in my head, but I don't usually. I kind of figure it out as I go or adapt it from my existing paint scheme, but with these Skaven, I kind of haven't painted enough of them to have really decided on like a standard process for any of their colors. And like it's just paint. I could cover it up, but I don't know, man. It's still kind of stressful. I am definitely gonna have to go back in with the Bugman's glow on this flesh. It's a mess. Oh well. That's okay. So since this is a push fit model, I can just pop him out of its base to get to some of these areas underneath him. Alright, I'm holding my shit backwards. Why am I holding it backwards? Normally I would be like kind of averse to putting paint onto mostly bare plastic, but given that nobody's going to see this anyway, if it loses some of its paint, it's still giving the illusion that the color is there and not like white or slightly white bare plastic. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is coming along pretty good. I am definitely going to need more paint, I think. I don't know if I've got enough on my palette to get through the rest of this white. boy, some of these areas back behind these pipes and tanks and stuff are just awful. Really, really rough to try to reach. I don't know if I'll ever paint another one of these, but if I do, I'm gonna do it in subsections, because some of these spots are just awful. Not the worst I've painted, but like, definitely inadvisable. There are small patches back here where I'm gonna need to go in with Bugman's Glow. Ah! Thought I got all of these spots the first time, so I would at least know where they were, but I guess some of them are kind of hard to spot through the white. Ah, oh, man, I need to remember to breathe. I think I said that the last time I did one of these, but I have a habit of holding my breath so that I am stable and steady. But then I also just forget to go back to not doing that. Probably not the safest, but like, I doubt I'm gonna make myself pass out. Like, it never gets close to that long. Just long enough that I'm like, oh, right, I need to do that. Alright, so there's definitely some bits definitely down in like the gut area are gonna need like some paler flesh tones built up. Because this guy's got kind of a gut over here behind the master molder's arms. It's pretty round, rotund. Okay. Jeez. Should avoid doing that directly. Keep that. I was right. I'm starting to run out of gray again. And there's definitely a handful of areas that still need it. Ugh. I guess that's good enough back there. Oh, back of this leg, though. Man, I just keep finding more spots of rat fur that I need to paint. He's not gonna stand up. Just gonna keep falling down. Suppose that's why he's got a base. Okay. Let's see. Yep, I'm gonna need to put more paint on my palette. Just a minute. Right, how do I even get back there? This way. This is how I get back here. Alright. Man, I really was trying to make it without having to put more of this on my palette, but there's just too much rat. Let's put a little bit more. This guy's base is gonna be another spot that's gonna get layered up into something much lighter. But for now, I do kind of want that red-gray tone at the bottom. Ow. Yeah, I will be working on that actually literally after this stream. I was having issues with it and did not want to continue to push tonight's stream back while I tried to figure out what the hell was happening. But BGM is coming soon, TM. Hopefully sooner than soon, TM, but soon TM is bare minimum. I mean, I phrase it like that, but realistically, I would be unhappy if I did this again and still had no BGM. Oh, come on. Okay, I think we're actually making some headway here. And it's just like a lot of random spots that are still kind of white that need to not be white. But I think we can move on to other colors soon, which would be ideal. Like, I had the thought, oh, well, maybe this would have been faster if I had an airbrush. But then, like, the airbrush itself would probably be kind of loud. And for this guy in particular, the airbrush would only help so much with the speed. What it would really help with is getting some beefy gradients on this fur and skin, but certainly not necessary. How do I get back there? Hmm. I just saw a spot, turned my head, and in the time it took me to look back, I lost it. Go figure. Oh, right. All this under here. Touched up. Yeah. There we go. And then touch up the back of this. Yeah. Looking pretty good. Looking cool, Joker. Alright. Yeah, let's move on to the next base skin tone to get more of this white out of here, which would be this guy, and then layering up a little bit over here. Oh, for that, I'm going to be using GW's base paint Rakarth Flesh. I like this a lot. It's one of the few near whites that I actually use pretty regularly from GW. Some of their grays are good, but like when it comes to their lighter colors, they tend to be kind of chalky. So that does still sort of hold true for Rakarth Flesh, but I haven't found anything that's quite the same tone. And for like pallid, evil skin tones, there's not really a better starting point, except maybe like an actual straight white, I guess. Could be better, but I personally really like it. It's kind of this almost sandstone-like color. Just a little bit of like a fleshy pinkness warmth to it. I don't know. It's just a very useful color for a lot of things. Also, unlike a lot of colors in similar shades from GW, this one goes on pretty smoothly. It's certainly it's certainly not the best covering paint, but it's also pretty far from the worst in terms of just GW paints out of the pot. And I mean, they're gonna kind of be a little bit of a stark contrast between the larger monster and the Master Molder until I get to the shade step where I kind of tie them together with a probably a contrast going over both. Um, Also, there's a bunch of highlighting that I'm going to need to do to the grays, kind of bring them up further. But also, they are technically two different rat organisms that are just like stitched together in horrible body horror majesty. So, you know what? Their differing skin tone is kind of the point to some extent. We're gonna come in onto this stomach in particular and kind of. Yeah, it's doing what I want. So, since Rakarth Flesh is such a light color, it, with a single coat, reads completely differently over the dark, kind of darkish red-gray than the white. And that's kind of what I was banking on here, because I want to do the same thing up here with the face. where I'll start kind of bringing it up. Because I mean, it's definitely gonna have like a thinner, less fur, especially in the facial region. Okay, yeah, this is coming along. I think maybe the master molder portion should have like a different actual fur color. So like this beard down here will probably be something that I pick out later in another color. Fortunately, this gross little guy doesn't have a whole lot of fur to begin with, so I don't have to worry about it right now. Oh, crap. Alright. What's next? What's next? Let's, I guess, put some black onto my palette, touch up some of these pipes, and start metallics? Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Okay. Don't actually need to do a whole lot with the black. There's just a couple of spots where I'm like, I should touch up. It's not gonna really matter too much in the end. Because it's just gonna get covered up with a metallic, but for the sake of consistency, I might as well touch up the spots that I know are kinda janky. So a lot of Skaven machinery is in the bronze and dark metal ranges. You can kind of see some of that on, like, not you, you've got some nice bright bronze. Oh my god, it's so blurry. I'm really gonna have to come up with a better webcam solution, hand cam solution than this particular webcam that I'm using now that cannot decide what to focus on. Anyways, bronze, yes. Dark metals, yes. So lots of bronze tanks with, like, I don't know, maybe some lighter silver details. We'll do some dark silver on the grates. These rats can't afford gold, but they might have like a tin or brass or something along those lines. Looks like I still have a little bit of black to put onto the back of these chains. Do that first. I don't know what I want to do with this stupid gauntlet, though. Because, like, these guys have, you know, their painted armor pieces. I'll probably do something similar. It'll be like a nice contrasting color, I guess. Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. Let me grab my tripod. Eh. Pop that down. So, like, I could theoretically use my wet palette with the metallic paints that I'm going to be putting onto this model momentarily, but that can seep into your sponge and cause, like, all of your paints to get metallic flakes in them when you use it, so I'm just gonna skip all of that and use my handy dandy silicone dry palette. I don't really need the wet palette's additional moisture for these paints to begin with, so we'll start off with the dark silver so that I can do all of these chains and these big blades. We'll start with the dark silver and I'll come in for the blades. The sharp ends will get like a lighter silver layer. And if I'm feeling spicy, maybe some like extra detail with like a really bright silver. Alright, so start off with a little bit of silver. Oh, this brush is like slowly becoming bigger and bigger. And by that, I mean it is slowly becoming less and less of a straight brush and more of like a explosion of brush hairs. So this silver is really dark. It's not going to be super apparent where I've put it on at first and where I haven't. It actually is showing up kind of better on camera almost than it is to my eyes in person. But the nice thing there is that I then don't have to hit it with a whole bunch of extra shade paints in order to make it like really dark and like used. It just kind of comes out looking like that sort of dark industrial metal that I want. Something comparable in the Citadel range would be like Iron Warriors. definitely used a lot of Iron Warriors before I found this stuff. And for some things, I would still prefer to use Iron Warriors. The two paints are not perfectly analogous. The dark silver that I'm using now is a cooler metallic, whereas Iron Warriors from Games Workshop is a bit warmer. However, the cooler metallic will contrast with a lot of the warmer colors on here to kind of, I don't know, balance it out better, I think. And if it's too cool or too dark, I can always warm it up a little bit as I layer. Layer up a little bit brighter if I need to. Yeah, it's like really apparent with the angle that this light from up here is hitting it. Um, which I guess if I lean over from that angle, yeah, it does look a lot more obvious. Still, if it's in a shadow, it basically reads as black. Yeah, so now we need to do the front. I feel like this particular metallic could probably go on over a white and not look completely terrible. It might look a little bit goofy, but I think it's packing enough black inside of it, like in the mix. There's enough black ink to where it can still cover whites pretty okay. But, I mean, it just, I would rather not have to do like 3 or 4 layers of a metallic just to get decent coverage because I chose to do it over a lighter base coat than is recommendable. Is my touching wet paint the top of my fingers? I don't think so, but no, I'm not. Okay. Just that side of the model feels really cool for some reason. Okay, so, oh my god, I didn't do this side of the blades, did I? No, I didn't. This is what I mean, like, I'm looking at these blades and I can kind of see where I've lightly brushed one of them and the other one's like untouched. But then I look at the other side and as it's drying, it's still really dark. And that's fine, but it is making my life slightly more difficult. And I feel like that's more of just like a lighting issue than necessarily an issue that I'm having with the paint. I just need to paint in like a brighter space than I have access to at the moment. Not that that's necessarily news to me. All right, let's do yeah, let's do this up here. Got these blades. All right. Um Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Alright. Let's put him back on his base for a little while. I don't think I'm gonna need to get under him for a little bit if I'm doing all of the metallics now. Is there more silver that I want? More stuff that I want to be silver, I mean. I guess I'll come in and do some of the details while I still have this paint on my palette. Let's add a little bit of water. That is really not working out. Okay, we're moving on. I'll touch out these details later. I do think I'm gonna need to do this, though. Whatever, let's do some bronze. All of the white and black is the enemy. I can always fix stuff later. So I really like Pro Krill's basic bronze. It's a very bright natural bronze. In contrast to like Games Workshop's oh, what is even the names of that bronze? Dude, Balthazar Gold is it's like a very reddish bronze. And GW uses that for like everything. But like this one, I'm gonna start on this tank up here. This one comes out and is like, it's like, ooh, that's like a really natural looking bronze color. Like a fresh bronze. Which is a good base point to like start doing weathering and like adjusting the color to what you want. Because like even if I want that reddish bronze, I can still get to that reddish bronze from this bronze pretty easily just with like, you know, a couple of washes, probably even just like one or two. I could just add a little bit of a warm red tone to it, and it would probably match Balthazar Gold pretty closely, but it looks more natural. What is in that corner? Is that like a big flake? There we go. Anyways, I like this bronze for all of these like clearly kind of battered tanks and like pieces of machinery. There's gonna be some coppers in here too, somewhere. I'm gonna have to dig out the paint for that in a minute, but like all of these big orbs, I feel like Skaven orbs are often bronze or brass of some kind. But bronze feels more right. And then like maybe a lot of the straight pipes will be either like a brass or a silver, like a iron color maybe. Yeah, yeah, I think I can. I'm starting to see it in my head. I'm still gonna have to come back through with Bugman's Glow and touch up a bunch of stuff on top of this guy's head. There is another Proacryl bronze that I don't have, but would probably be using on this project if I did have. And the only reason I don't have it is because nowhere that I can buy single pots of Proacryl paint aside from Proacryl themselves sells that one in a single. It's from one of their expansions, but it's like a dark bronze. And from what I understand, he was a little bit closer to that warmish, reddish bronze, but also still keeps the kind of natural look that this bronze has. Um, like, without showing you a model with Balthazar gold on it, it's not going to make a whole lot of sense what I mean, I guess. Um, but Balthazar gold tends to not, in my opinion, look like a real metal. Because it's definitely supposed to be a bronze. It's definitely named gold, and it definitely looks more copper, like a coppered bronze. So, like, the color on three different levels is mildly confusing. And I mean, if that's the tone that you're looking for, then there's kind of nothing on that market that does the same thing. Everything is gonna hue probably closer to this, or just kind of be a pale imitation of what Games Workshop has achieved, which is too bad. It's interesting, really, is what it is. Because, like, I'm not even sure if that shade of bronze would be a popular choice if Games Workshop hadn't been pushing it for so long. I don't know. It's interesting to think about. I guess having put a little bit more thought into it, Balthazar Gold looks like particularly old bronze, like pre-dirtied bronze. And like that's fine, but it also means that like all of that metal is already dirty, and I don't need that kind of appearance for every project that needs bronze, if that makes sense. I think I got that thought out without it jumbling. Um, because like thinking about it, there's definitely situations where yeah, I can't imagine not using Balthazar Gold, but also there's situations where my brain is not explicitly like I want brass here or I want bronze here, not brass. Brass is a whole other can of worms, TBH. Start getting into alloys and it's like, well, what's the ratio of metals that's going to determine the color? So like it just none of it matters. Just do what you like at that point. All right. I definitely want to give this weird thing down here is going to be bronze for sure. It's like connecting a couple of different pipes and cables to the warp fire thrower. Hmm. All right. There's another bulbous piece over here. Um, yeah, all right, for the sake of getting paint on model, I'm gonna paint this thing, the warp fire thrower cannon, bronze for now, and if I decide I don't like it later, I can change the color to whatever I want. Probably a silvery metal, some sort of iron, I don't know. I feel like the green glow that comes along with warp fire weapons will not necessarily show up as well on the bronze. It's easier to tint silver into colors that I want for glow effects, object sourced lighting. Excuse me. Ugh. All right. Um, damn, do I really need more bronze on this palette? Kind of. I kind of do. Yeah, all right, let's put some more bronze on here. Okay. grab a little bit of this bronze. And get it onto this guy's orbular bits, of which he has many orbulars. Okay. Rotate him and let's see. Got any more random bits that definitely need to be bronze? I'm not really seeing much. Some of these connectors maybe. All right, let's get back into some of the dark silver for some more of these pipes. Do I actually have here one thing? I don't care. Oop. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to dig out a slightly brighter silver for some of these bits. But that's okay. For now, we can start with the darker metallic and then work our way up later. It does actually kind of immediately read a little bit better over the bronze. Which is interesting, but ultimately kind of doesn't matter. Yeah, this is coming right along, isn't it? Um, I don't know what color I want to do some of these bandages in, like the taped up cable over here, or the bandage on this guy's arm over here. Probably just like a dark gray, I guess. Oh, I'm sorry, was the sniff super loud? My mic is in a sort of strange position compared to normal, which kind of puts it closer to my nose than I'm used to. Ow. Um, Feels like every time I do one of these hand cams, I'm completely rebuilding my setup for it from scratch, and it ends up a little bit different every time. Uh, for example, this time it's less hot over here, but at the same time, my microphone is now kind of like right here. Oh, yeah, you know what? Yeah, that might actually work. We just like do the grate in a dark metal. Yeah, because then we can more easily do OSL on that grate while still having the larger thing kind of be bronze. Yeah. If it doesn't work out, we can just change the whole thing. Doesn't really matter. It's all just paint. And you can always paint over paint or remove paint. Okay. Um, oh, what do I want to do next? Um, First things first, let's touch up some of the like cables and some of the bandages and stuff with Eshin Gray. I have Eshin Gray somewhere. Not Eshin Gray. Let's use Dark Reaper. Dark Reaper is a good one. Yeah, Dark Reaper will work. Oh, I never used my Dark Reaper. Are you for real? I was so sure I'd use this. Oh well. It's exactly the color I was thinking of, so. Alright, scoop a bunch of that out of this stupid GW pot. And let's pick out some cables and some bandages and stuff, yeah? Oh wow, it looks almost blue compared to a lot of the colors on here, and that's fine. I'll probably go back in with something else and touch it up. Don't actually want that on the hand. Yeah, that's not really the color that I want. That's okay, we can just hit it with some water. And instead of that one, I think I want oh, I know how I'll do it. We'll hit those with the same color. We're gonna do all of the horns and nails and stuff. And then just do a different shade. Warm sepia shade. Yeah, that'll work. Could read slightly bone-like, or more what I'm going for is slightly grimy, like a used bandage, kinda. I wish I had, like a darker ivory color, but that's okay. And what we'll do is we'll just kind of leave these spots alone when we go through and do the actual cabling. As for that, I think next we want some greens. Oh, this one will work for some of the cables. Yeah, all right. I got some Caliban green from Games Workshop. Not going to use a whole lot of this, but it is a nice dark, rich green for which we can use as a base on some cables and some rocks. I keep forgetting that this GW paint really does need a little bit of extra water. And then it's like crappy after that because I added too much water. Oh well. Oh, okay. And we want to get this rock in here. I'm also going to put some of this in between the grates on the larger pieces of machinery because they are all definitely powered by warpstone. And I will be going through and like attempting some sort of object source lighting glow on these bits. But getting like a nice dark green inside of it into those shadows is kind of more important than the silver that we had on top. Especially when I consider that that silver is probably going to get replaced with a brighter one. Give me that black real quick. I guess I'm gonna do his gauntlet over here, kind of the same way that I did all the rat ogres. So this bit at the top with like the extra plate and the spikes, that'll get a nice silver color. And so will this bottom bit. We'll get that dark silver. And then this main gauntlet armor piece on both sides will be that dark teal-ish color. Mostly because, like, I like that teal color palette a lot. I use it for a lot of armor. Like, my AOS Mortal Nurgle guys, they have that colored armor. These rat ogres have this colored armor. A lot of my Drukhari has this colored armor. But also, it just kind of goes well with the orange, I think. Gives it a nice little cool contrast piece. I don't know. What did I do with that, though? Is it this one? Yeah, Dark Jade. Blop. I may have to go back over it with another shade of this color. Similar to this color, I mean, because this isn't the one I usually use, but I do like the way that this one goes on. I like the color that it ends up being. Oh, you know what? I think the back of this is all connected. Okay. Alright. That's fine. The back of it is just gonna be silver then. Not a big issue, just not what I was planning on doing. Hello! How's it going? I was busy looking at the armor. I look up and I see some chat. How's it going? Everything good? Blah. I feel that. The position I have to sit in for this sort of stream is not the most comfortable. It is definitely starting to make my back hurt. But that's okay. I think I'm nearing a point where I can call it for the night. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling in a few minutes. What do I want? I want something for these cables. I guess I want the coal black. Oops. Shaking that more. Oh well. Alright, yeah, let's touch up some of the dark pink skin tone in a few places, and then I think I'm gonna call it for the night. My back is starting to, like, get really mad at me for sitting on the floor like this. All right, touched up this nose. Ears. All right, I think we're getting pretty close. There's a few places that still need a little bit of touching up, but this guy is looking way more base coated than he did a little while ago, and that's great. Oh my god, I missed. Okay. I knew there was another spot that needed green. There's a freaking piece of warpstone in this guy's elbow joint right here. There we go. All right, what was I doing before? Right, finishing up this. For, like, stuff like the feet, I do have, a different skin tone that I will use to build up so that, I don't know, they don't look quite so leathery. I mean, they'd probably be pretty leathery. Mm, yeah, I'll probably layer them up at least a little bit. Because, like, there's definitely some spots in these feet where it doesn't matter how leathery they are, they're just, like, stretched against the bone. It's gonna be paler than what I'm looking at now. Oh yeah, I had an idea for the inside of the orange cloth that's kind of hanging down over the top here. I'm gonna hit that with whatever's left of this Rakarth flesh. And then when I go through and do the wash, I'll hit the Rakarth with the orange too. So it reads as material that was dyed on one side and the dye seeped through rather than like a particularly well dyed material. And I mean, if it sucks, I'll just layer over it, whatever. But you gotta try new things in order to improve at this kind of shit, so. I need more Rakarth flesh on my palette. That's what I need. Anyways, I think this will work because Rakarth flesh has this kind of like warm beige tone to it. But it could make it look a bit more like dyed skins, like an animal fur. I don't know, like a pelt. That's the word I wanted. We'll see what happens. It is absolutely starting to overheat in this corner again. Ugh. Yeah, alright. Woo! I think I'm nearing my limit for the day. Um, we've made a lot of progress on this guy. Lots of things are no longer white. Some of the stuff that is still white is stuff that needs to be white until the shade phase. Some of it is just small details that I haven't bothered to pick out, like this guy's tongue. His teeth are pretty easy, but tongue, I haven't had a need for the color that I'd use for that yet. But I will probably use it next time. I think I can probably pick out the tongue. I think I'm gonna use like a dark magenta, dark pink for the tongue, and then I'll also pick out these scars on this shoulder. Um, yeah, making progress. Maybe one or two more streams before we're actually like looking at something that I would be proud of, but it's getting all of its base colors on it, and that's really the first step. It's decidedly the hardest step in my opinion, because like, so once you've got your initial base coat on, it's a little bit easier to kind of make out what all of the different details are kind of supposed to be, because like when everything is an off-white, um, then assuming that your primer layer is like even and stuff, then you're just gonna be, it's gonna be harder to read the shadows, right? So picking out what different details are supposed to be can be really tricky. Sorry, I just saw a couple of spots that needed more of this skin color. But now that we're getting to where everything's kind of got the right-ish color, you can make out where there's like little holes in the fur, so that, you know, we need to get some irritated skin tone in there, right? Like in here, or right here. This whole piece here needs it, but got a bunch of red-gray. And I mean, it might get some highlights later that bring it up a little bit, since that is like a defined muscle right there. But, you know, there was one that I just saw. Where was that? Um, I don't know. Like this right here. This little divot right here is probably some inflamed flesh that I just didn't see before. I didn't pick out his other ear. Oops. God, I said I was done, and then I was like, oh, I need to put more pink on. Um, there's a little tiny hole right there. And there's just a lot of stuff like that on this particular model where it's just like, oh, yeah, that's probably somewhere that's supposed to not be the same exact color. Where did I see that? It was like right here somewhere. Oh well, I'm sure I'll find it next time. For now, I think I'm going to call it a night. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching me paint this big gross rat. I hope you had fun and that I made your night a little bit better. Oh, okay. Thank you for tuning in. Good night.